Hello, it's Tea and Chat with Louisa here. Hello, how are you doing? Oh, look at the weird furry head today. It's been a very odd week. So I decided not to do live Tea and Chat because I want to do it when I'm feeling I want to be speak to you when I feel ready or I've got something I want to share, as opposed to it being really it has to be this day, and it didn't feel right. I set it up this morning, but I was with my granddaughter still, and it's been a really kind of harrowing few days. I would say harrowing, that's the word. So get your cup of tea ready, and yeah, let's go over what's happening this week. So how are you guys doing? There's this underlying thing that we're all waiting to be closed down. It's almost like everyone's trying to have hope and faith. But just now, oh my cats, they're just decided to wrestle. Yeah. Anyway, just now I'm really feeling the hope and the faith and a lot of love and gratitude for the people around us, and for my family and my loved ones. Basically my granddaughter had surgery on Saturday, but I'll go into that. So last time I did Tea and Chat, I was just away to pick up my car, broken down, the brakes had gone, so that cost £700, which was not the most joyful. And then the following day, I've been running a moonology and mythology teacher training, which I love doing. So we spoke about the new moon. So the new moon was on Thursday, on the 17th, and it was in Virgo. So as I was saying, it's about, the new moon is about manifestation, setting intentions, trying to figure out where you need to be or what you want to do. And it's a little bit like making a wish and putting it out there, and not just hoping willy-nilly. It's you're making almost like an agreement with yourself that this is what you want, how are you going to get there, and what you're going to do. So the waxing moon, as the moon is getting larger, now the new moon is when it's the day just before the new moon is when it's the darkest, and then it starts to gradually grow. So we're in the waxing phase just now, where we're actively trying to do things that's going to take us to where we need to be with all the intentions that perhaps we set consciously. Or if you didn't do any new moon ceremonies and you're not a weirdo, as a lot of people call me, you might have subliminally made set intentions, and it was really powerful. I think it was a supermoon actually, so it means that the moon was closer to Earth. I've been working with the planetary alignments for a long time now, and it really helps to know. I'm not I would never call myself an expert. I'm just really interested, and it's not a belief system, and it makes so much sense. So you've got to, when you're figuring out what house, so that you've got houses that the moon is in at that time, which signifies what's going to be the importance of it to you, what you need to work on at that time. So basically, the new moon, when we're setting these intentions, as much as it's the new moon in Virgo, you apply it to your rising sign. So the rising sign is, so I'm a Leo as a sun sign, and my moon sign is Libra. But the rising sign is actually what you project yourself out to the public. So I'm a Gemini. I'm a rising sign Gemini, and so you figure out what. Oh, I don't like hearing that. So the rising sign, you according to the Gemini rising sign next to Virgo new moon, means that the house that it was in was in the 4th house. It probably sounds like absolute gobbledygook to you, but these things make so much sense. It's absolutely outrageous how much it makes so much sense. And it was in the 4th house for me, which is family, and home. So yeah, I'm really, as much as most people know, I'm fiercely love both my daughters and my granddaughter. And one of my things is to really make sure I have this strong bond with them, and they know that they're loved by me. Probably I've got mother issues. My mother didn't love me and wasn't there for me, so I would never ever do that to my children. And this isn't me being bad mouthing or being negative about my mother. This is a positive slant. But in that house, it also signifies home as well. So I was just clearing up all these things going on in my home. As you know, I had fleas and stuff with having 3 cats. That's all sorted now. But I love my house. I've been doing it up, but I really feel like I'm not close enough to my children. I've always procrastinated. I'm out in the country, but it's okay. But anyway, this new moon, it was really interesting in the fact that also the planetary alignments, it said in the planets to be careful. The 17th and 19th, which was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, were going to be quite stormy, and you to watch out. And lots of it could be to do with, it depends where the planets were aligned for you. So anyway, Thursday I decided, I've had a lot of stuff going on. I decided I'm just going to get my car, a day off, and I drove to Loch Gilphead, which is the west coast. One of my good friends owns like a retreat place out there, so it's all been blessed by shamans. It's beautiful. They live off the grid, their own vegetables, their animals, and they have their own labyrinth. It's absolutely amazing. Fire pit area, a natural Wim Hof place. But anyway, there's no Wi-Fi, so you just go in there and you're off the grid. And Helen and I have been friends for a long time, so she had to work for some of it, but it was just really lovely to just be there and connect. So in the evening we went out for a beautiful seafood dinner, because we're in the west coast. Oysters and langoustines, and we watched the sun go down. It was just, I was thinking, universe is giving me a little break here. Absolutely perfect. Reminiscing, looking back at old times, remembering, and stop fighting, boys. So anyway, we came back to the house. We did a new moon ceremony, which involved blue lotus flower tea, sacred cacao. We walked the labyrinth under the stars. We saw a shooting star. It was a beautiful experience. Next morning we had breakfast outside, and a frog just came out from nowhere. There was no water anywhere, and it just started crawling its way towards me. It wasn't scared, when I was speaking, and then it worked its way towards my feet. It was just wanting to be around me. So it was so we ended up putting it in water. It looked a little bit dried up because it wasn't near water. So we put it in amongst some water and set it free. But because because of our ceremony, and it'd been really quite powerful. We were like wondering what this symbolism, what's the message there? I like to know that. I like to see what the synchronicities are. Anyway, and frogs signify rebirth, renewal, transformation, metamorphosis, life mysteries, and ancient wisdom. Now the new moon signifies rebirth, beginnings, all these different things. Behave yourself, Peppy. Yeah, so that was quite crazy. And also the ancient wisdom and the life mysteries, because where Helen stays is really quite it's steeped in Scottish history, and she's surrounded by lots of lots of stone circles. So we went to see a few of them, really feel the energy of the place, and I walked up the hills to see where all the kings, not all, the kings of Scotland had been crowned before. Obviously, remember It's Stirling Castle that they ended up being crowned in, but I'm a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan, but I'm really passionate about Scottish history, art history, especially the Renaissance, and Scottish history. I am yogic philosophy as well. I'm a bit of a nerd, but yeah. So anyway, that was absolutely amazing as well. So I was there, left in a wee high. Decided I better drive back. My needy cats will be missing me. You guys know how needy my cats are. You can hear them going because I'm not speaking to them. So 4 hours drive there the day before, 4 hours drive back, but I had my tunes on. Well, and I was like to listen to Audible, some of the books, and I finished a book recently that really helped me understand my parents and the relationships I've chosen in the past, and has kind of set me free from allowed me to heal a little bit. Not that I need, I feel like I'm kind of really I'm in a good place, but I would really highly recommend if anyone has had parents that people can only meet you where they're at, so it's not that I don't feel I just love some of my family members from a distance. I love them. I'm not falling out with them. I just choose not to be treated really badly anymore, and it's really made me feel so much better. I feel free and I feel safe and I feel settled, and it's the more than I ever have done. But I used to, because I was born into chaos, that's all I knew. I ended up making poor choices when it came to men as well. There was always drama, and I'm really enjoying the lack of that, but it's trying to fill that void in the sense that what do I do with that? So I'm really filling it with friendship and my children, but also time for me and nurturing and reading and evolving with my practice, and knowing that just giving myself the nurturing that I never had, and parenting myself. Sounds really odd, but honestly, there's a book. If anyone's interested, message me, because it made so much sense, and it's how to deal with people who are emotionally immature. So it's healing from emotionally immature parents, but also it can apply to emotionally immature people or partners. So you have I had so many light bulb moments. Oh my goodness! So now I know how to deal with that. So anyway, got home feeling good. It's about 9 o'clock at night. Got a phone call from my oldest daughter. Oh my god! Really awful. My granddaughter had a serious head injury. And the photo that I put on social media was that her post-op where it's actually her right eyebrow. If you see, you might not be able to see, but I've got a big scar just above my eyebrow where I had neurosurgery years ago. So my granddaughter is now going to have a matching scar. Interestingly enough, I've got this weird white patch here that appeared not that long ago, and my daughter had a mole removed last year, and she was quite traumatized by it, even though it was benign, but it's marked, it's left like a little brown mark, and I've got almost the exact match of it, but in white. It's just appeared, so that appeared round about that time as well, so I feel really connected to them. But anyway, Alia had fallen and smashed her head open so badly. I knew that I didn't want to see the pre-photos of before the accident, but once I knew she was fine, I was showing them, and I had such a physical sensation reaction to it that I've never experienced in my life. It is like my whole system started going like this. I was really, really ill just from seeing. I got home, I didn't do anything from anyone, it was awful. So the first thing I wanted to do is, because these guys are my life, was just jump in the car and get to them. So Levi had she'd smashed her head open. It was like a huge gaping wound. I don't want to trigger anyone, sorry. She phoned an ambulance 4 times. They were like, oh, we need to get a consultant to call you back. By that time she was losing too much blood. So her daddy had ran from where he was, which is quite far away, to get to them, and they wrapped up her head in, my daughter took off her cardigan, so she's in her bra, covered in blood, wrapped the cardigan around. They drove to A&E very quickly, and because of COVID, only one parent was allowed to go in. But because Levi was quite, traumatized with the whole event, Halia said, I want my daddy to go in. Mummy, don't cry, you'll be okay. So Levi was outside for 4 or 5 hours waiting. So she was waiting, covered in blood, in her tracky bottoms, her bra, and experienced something awful as well. Someone with mental health issues had been running around the car park with their top off, shouting, and then an ambulance had pulled up. They opened up the ambulance door, and the man ran in and attacked the patient. Eventually he was pinned down, but he was shouting that he was Satan. My daughter just experienced that, and then experienced that. It must have been absolutely awful for her. But there's, the mental health situation just now is so it's just awful the way the world is just now. There's been more suicide deaths this month than there has been COVID deaths, apparently. So don't quote me on that. It's what I've read, and something really needs to be done about that too. But anyway, they couldn't operate, they needed to operate. Her wound is so deep. And they spoke to the plastic surgeon, and so they couldn't operate until the next day. So they packed up her wound and they sent them home. So I wanted to drive straight down there, but there was nothing I could do. They knew they were getting out, and they had to go back in first thing in the morning. So I knew I had to be down there to be there for them. So Alia went in with her daddy. And yes, and Saturday was like the longest day. We knew she was going under. She's 5 years old, general anaesthetic, and we didn't know. We knew, a mummy wanting to be with her 5-year-old daughter is just terrible, because they weren't allowed to swap parents, like take it in shifts. So she wasn't allowed to eat from 2 o'clock in the morning, and she didn't get operated until 5:30 at night. But Levi had, when I was driving in, she was having a panic attack, because she was really concerned about her daughter. So steaming down the A90 trying to talk my daughter through a panic attack. But luckily I've got the yogic techniques, and have taught meditation, pranayama, and got her there. So we spent a long day, but it was really about being there for my daughter. I wouldn't have been anywhere else. So I even got her meditating. I even got her listening to mantras. I got the breathing, and I'm still wanting her to keep with the breathing and becoming mindful. Managed to control a few little, panic attacks, just because we couldn't be there for her. So the operation went well. She almost looked at it as like a nice little experience. She's not a whingy kid, and neither of my daughters were either. Not that there's no, I love children. Children are my faves. But she just took it all in her stride, and she got out, and we were waiting outside A&E, and it was absolutely dead. There was no ambulance going back and forth. There was no people. It was really eerie. We spent most of the day outside the hospital, and it was a really eerie place to be. Not much action going on. So there wasn't much people coming in and out of A&E either, which actually helps with the the fear mongering of the media, where they're telling us that there's this huge second wave, and they're we've all got to save lives, but there wasn't like a huge back and forth and drama, apart from the guy with the mental health issues the day before. So anyway, I'm just going off on a tangent, being the unfunny Billy Connolly way. So anyways, we gave her a big cuddle, wrapped her in a blanket, and they got into their car, and Halia wanted me to come back to their house. So as I was getting into my car, I thought it was this huge dog came towards me. It was massive. It strolled towards me, really confident. So I thought it was somebody's dog. Somebody was out taking their dog for a walk. And it just stood. And there was almost this moment where I'm like, we had this sense of calmness and stillness. And it wasn't like it was staring me out to try and scare me, but there was this moment where kind of time stood still. It was really strange. It was this massive fox. So yeah, it was a very strange moment. And then I got in my car. The fox kind of gave me a wee look and then strolled off. So that was really interesting. So because of the frog incident, I thought maybe that's another it's symbolic of something. So the symbolism of foxes are physical and mental awareness, a call to be discerning, the ability to find your way around and to be swift in tricky situations, and an affinity with nocturnal activities and dream work. So yeah, I really, all day Saturday, I was really very much sitting in the eye of the storm, surfing the waves of shite really, and making sure that my daughter felt held. And because I knew that Halia was with her daddy in the hospital. Levi needed help. She's still my baby. But I've got another daughter, and she's just started uni, and she's only 18, doesn't live with me anymore, and she needs me too. And so I'd phoned her, and we went down and saw her for a little bit as well. And I know that's 3 households, but I think that was very necessary. We needed Levi couldn't go back to their house for that time because there was still blood everywhere. I needed to go back before they came back and clean up the blood. So we went and sat, and because Kaya's got very, her demeanour was actually calming for Levi, because Levi's more comes from emotion and Kaya comes from logic. So it was like something that was very important that brought us all closer together, so there's always something positive out of every negative. And it really, as much, I didn't need a lesson to know how much I love my children or my granddaughter, but this is something that strengthened the bond. So that was quite amazing. So when I got home the next morning, was it yesterday? Yeah, I'd just been shown the photograph that morning of just before when it happened, when she was in hospital before she was stitched up. It was so deep and so triggering and traumatic that I was just my body went into convulsion, and it was just awful. It's like, oh my goodness. But then I understood, came out, got come into myself, breathed, that was interesting how your body can physically react to something when as a yogi you're sitting in the eye of the storm, you're controlling your mind stuff, but there was something more deeper that reacted there physically. So then I thought, suddenly felt a wave of tiredness as well from being really holding everyone's space. But Halia called and wanted me to come back. So of course I went back last night and went and stayed there with them. So I'm back home today. But anyway, coming back to this new moon thing, and how it was all about, for me, for my rising sign, and it was in the 4th house. The 4th house is related to home and family. And what you're supposed to visualize is things to do with your family and your home. And the new moon in this part signifies starting again as far as your home is concerned. And it can herald a house move, major decluttering or renovating, and also families come to the forefront. So interestingly enough, yesterday I got a phone call. Was it yesterday or what's all the days? Saturday, when we were waiting for Halia to come out of her surgery, I got a phone call from a property agent because I'd been looking at, because I couldn't sleep on Friday night worrying about Halia. I went onto the internet and I was looking at houses near them, because I have to be near them, and how much my house would be valued at. But I didn't realise there was something that triggers, so they get something through going, oh, this person's just looked and wants to know what their house is valued at. So they've called me and I've got someone coming round on Thursday to give me a valuation. So something that I didn't know was going to happen, but it was in my new moon. And it is a manifestation. My manifestation was to be like close to my children. That all of a sudden my house is going on the market, and I have had a call to be there. So that's a bit of a wee story. I've not really told anyone that. I thought I'd just share that with you guys. So, but anyway, I couldn't sleep last night, and this was to do with. So I've actually printed this off. I wrote something when I couldn't sleep last night. So I decided to move, and I need to be near Levi and Hallie, but I also need to be near Kaya, my youngest. Like, Kaya doesn't act like she needs me, and I've always thought I need to give her space. I don't want to push her, but actually I need to fiercely love her, but give her that space. I want them to know that they're loved, so I really have decided I'm going to be a bit more pushy. Sorry, Kaya. Not more pushy, but really phone her more. Try and push myself, almost like I always thought, oh, she doesn't like being around me. I annoy the shit out of her, so I'll just leave her until she wants to come to me. I always say to my students, never make assumptions. Now, by me doing that, she might be thinking I don't care. So I'm still her mum. She needs to know she's loved, and I need to instill, tell her that she is worth something, to give her that self-esteem and that sense of confidence as a woman that I was never given by my parents. I always felt I was not good enough. I was always told I wasn't good enough. So I don't want her to grow up like that. So I've decided that I'm going to fiercely love her as much as even if she's not acting like she wants me to. So that's one of my other new moon decisions. So anyway, as I was trying to sleep last night in my room at Levi's, I realised they've got this insomnia, and it's to do with the menopause, and it's all to do, when I was doing their shopping, going around the supermarket and getting stuff for them, and I ended up, I had all these bags in the supermarket, and I had this sudden wave of this heat that comes to you, and it's like a wave of anxiety, and it's not yours, because it's not because this wave of anxiety is not because of something. It's something that just comes really physically, and then you just have to go, okay, I'm in the supermarket, I'll just breathe, come on, you can be aware of your sensations. Okay, right, I'm back in the room, here we go. But my clothes are also okay, because you get this sudden heat. It's just pretty rank, actually. But you hear all these, everything's just so negative and blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, okay, what is the positives of the menopause? It's one of these things that our mothers, our grandmothers, it's all hidden, or nobody likes to say anything, or if they do, they go, oh, it's awful, it's terrible. And so I kind of decided to turn it on its head. The way I deal with life is to be a curious observer, as everyone knows. I like to, it's kind of like embracing the great tapestry of life, and it's finding the positive slant or the lesson. And this isn't this positive, this spiritual toxicity that a lot of people speak about, the love and light, but they're pushing away all their stuff, and they end up being passive aggressive. I welcome these shadows, the shadow stuff, and I allow them to intermingle with all of, all my other, the positive thoughts, emotions, and memories, and just observe them. The more you can do that, the more you can transmute it and learn from what it is and let it go. So I started thinking about that from the terms of menopause. This is what I wrote, so it was 3 o'clock in the morning. So anyway, could have been speaking for half an hour. Sorry about that. So anyway, if you're not interested in what I have to say about the menopause, you can switch off now. It might be cheesy, I don't know. But this is my thoughts at 3 o'clock this morning. The menopause. A call to action, a quickening, an awakening of creative potential. Time to wake up and bring all we've learned to the light. All our shadows owned and set free with a wave of rage, and in its place a strange sense of creativity. Good girls aren't supposed to feel rage in this patriarchal world. Now we have come of age and have done our duties expected of us in this unbalanced setup. We can unhinge our bras, shake out our neat hairstyles, dance naked round fires or our living room, and really set out to achieve our true calling. What our souls have been whispering to us in our sleep since we were small. It's time to break the shackles of an outdated society and finally step into our power. This strange creativity that comes fills the void as the hormones we're used to having surging through our bodies leave us, as if they've been invited to a better party. The way a house feels once everyone leaves a gathering, and when you're left to tidy up and throw away the leftovers. But you have warm, fuzzy memories, and you're trying to make sense of the conversations that play in your head as you remember subtle nuances, and your intuition is trying to get in, but it can't because it's not on the list. It's time to open the back door, let your intuition in, and have a heart-to-heart with it, with a large, warming cup of tea. Unlock the door to your intuition once the frivolities of life dwindle. It's time to finally own your shit. The menopause gives you freedom to be yourself. Society pops you on the shelf as it has no more expectations of you. I love that sense of anonymity. One of the reasons I used to travel all the time. You can be openly the person you were destined to become without as much judgment and shame. And if there is, then you have no more time for bullshit. These uncharted waters will set you free. Choices and options you had when you were a fertile woman are taken away, but it means more clarity and less confusion with what you need to get done or let go of. Clarity and less confusion are not always there, though, as the brain fog moves in stealthily, along with sudden intense physical waves of heat and anxiety that knock you sideways when you're not looking. Some questions are no longer relevant. Should I have more children? Your biological clock is not ticking anymore. Which man is best for me? You're now more invisible to men, perceived as less sexual. Yet as this aspect dwindles, the sensual erotic part we're taught to keep hidden emerges into its full expression. We don't need men anymore, having woken up from the distorted dream we're all fed that we need a man to save us. I've kissed too many frogs to know that the prince is merely a fallacy to encourage women to keep giving men a chance. This is not about pushing men away. We need balance in our life, and we should embrace the divine masculine as well as the divine feminine. Having a man in certain situations make the dynamics of the room feel easier and less charged. They bring in the earthy, logical energy. Let's not hide from the menopause anymore, pretending it's not happening to make everyone around us, especially men, feel more comfortable and us more youthful. Our mothers and grandmothers pushed it back into the shadows, seeing it as an awful affliction that needed to be secret. The menopause is actually an opportunity. It's a change of mindset. like switching off our router to reset it. It's finally time to rise and be the woman you were always supposed to be, and burn as brightly as a phoenix. I'll leave it at that.